All right, it's September 25th, and the first thing I wanted to go over tonight is the Comey indictment. James Comey, the former FBI head, has been indicted for obstruction of Congress. And what was the other thing here? Oh, let's see. Making false statements within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch. And this was according to his testimony that he gave on September 30th of 2020 in relation to crossfire hurricane. And this was the original investigation of the Trump-Russia collusion. Now, if anyone was familiar with this or anyone remembers what this was the Hillary Clinton campaign paid-for Steele dossier that the FBI already knew was a bunch of crap, and they utilized it to get a warrant and investigate a sitting president and spy on him. So what happened was the Hillary Clinton campaign utilized $1 million, and they paid the Perkins Coie law firm, which then hired Fusion GPS, which then hired Steele, who went out, and then he used his overseas contacts to create this false dossier. Now, the FBI was already aware of the dossier prior to this, and they knew that the information in it was no good, and they didn't do anything with it. It wasn't until they were politically pressured to go in and start to spy on Trump, and then they come up with this Trump-Russia collusion idea, which, if anything, there would have been collusion with Clinton and Russia, not Trump and Russia. But anyway, the point here is this. They utilized that dossier to start an investigation, and within the Bureau, it was Operation Crossfire Hurricane. So Comey, when he was up in front of Congress, lied repeatedly about the operation, and now has been indicted by a grand jury. I am surprised. I did not think that they were ever going to indict him. I know Trump had been in there pressing the DOJ, pressing Pam Bondi to indict these people for the crimes they've committed. But now we can see that there's actually going to be some action against him. And I hope his daughter, Maureen Comey, who was actually the prosecutor in the Epstein case, she is going to be indicted for covering up a ton of other stuff. Now, if you're familiar with what's going on with the Epstein files, there was a Democrat judge that just denied the request to open up the grand jury so that they could see all the testimony and all the evidence that was laid out in the grand jury. Probably about a week ago now, Chuck Schumer tried to shove in the Epstein files into some kind of Democrat bill that they were trying to get passed through Congress or through the Senate, knowing that the Republicans were going to vote it down just so he could get a headline out of it. That way they could say, oh, look, the Republicans voted down the release of the Epstein files. No, they voted down your garbage bill that you shoved the Epstein files in. Isolate that, present a bill that's just releasing the Epstein files, and obviously I think that they're going to get enough Republican votes. I don't believe there'd be any Democrat votes, but there may be. But either way, they would have got enough Republican votes to put that out there. Now, back to Comey. Comey has been indicted now. What are the charges? Obviously, it's obstruction of Congress, just like I just spoke about, and making false statements. Now, how far is this going to go? Is he actually going to get sent to prison? Let's hope so. But we don't know that yet. Is he actually going to be found guilty? There is due process here. We got to give him that. But I do believe he lied. I think everybody that's familiar with this believes that he actually lied to Congress. And it should be obvious that he's actually going to get convicted here. But I don't know if they're actually going to send him to prison. They could be just doing this to make a statement as to we're done with this. There's not going to be any more of this BS, and we're not going to put up with it anymore. And I know that by Hegseth is actually calling a meeting at top brass, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, because that's a very important thing that's going on right now. Hegseth, who was the former Department of Defense head, which has now been renamed the Department of War, or the Secretary of War. So that I'm going to get to just momentarily. Just going back to this right now with the FEC and the Clinton campaign. It was already proven that the Clinton campaign paid for this dossier. We know that Comey knew that. and the FEC actually fined the Hillary Clinton campaign $8,000. Oh, big deal, right? Nobody got prosecuted there. And then they fined the DNC $105,000 for their part in this debacle. But nobody has been indicted in that respect in the DNC or any part of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Let's hope in the future that comes to pass. But as far as Comey goes, he's been indicted, and hopefully his daughter, Maureen Comey, is actually going to get indicted as well. They were both, I believe, involved in the cover-up, the Epstein files, and basically the peppering of the Epstein files with corruption. Because I think that, honestly, they went behind the scenes here with the Epstein files and then just planted false information within the files so they couldn't be just released. Because if they released it, it wasn't just going to have the correct information, it was going to have all this corrupt information that they knew was wrong, and they would be able to easily debunk it in the media. So that they would be able to say that, well, now we don't know if any of it's good, which is true. How are you going to know which evidence is correct and which evidence has been debunked, or which evidence is just incorrect garbage they put out there, just so that they could classify it as that garbage, the whole dang thing. I think that they actually put Trump's name in there intentionally so that he wouldn't be able to release it immediately. They would have to go back through and find out, like, what's in here that's right, what's in here that's wrong, where did the evidence come from? Did this all come from Epstein, or did it come from the FBI actually putting information in there to corrupt the files themselves?